What's up, guys? Welcome back to the ASAP Automotive channel. Today is like, it's Christmas. It's Christmas time. There's parts here. Like, what better day for a gearhead than when you get a nice big honking box of car parts show? I mean, this is freaking awesome. Super excited here. So we've actually got a few different things from here, and we got some other stuff here on the side that we're gonna open up too. Some of these are some small stuff that we've got, from like Summit, Jigs, all that kind of fun stuff. And we'll throughout this series, we'll be putting links, for you guys, where we're getting these parts from and all that fun stuff. But predominantly, it's going to be from Jigs and Summit, and then Novak, of course, our big go-to for this project. So let's go ahead and start here with some of these smaller stuff. Figure out what we got going on here. Okay, here are actual lifters that we're going to be upgrading. Figure with the mileage and all, and the fact that we're putting a cam in this thing, might as well go ahead and do a set of lifters in here. Nice, new, pretty, and shiny. We're gonna let those soak overnight before we put those in and prime up. The next things here is, of course, being that as in depth as we're gonna end up going into this motor, figured it only made sense to go ahead and get us a new oil pump. Brand new Melling. Melling makes a great oil pump. They do a lot of good stuff. They're good go-to, especially for this build here. That we're gonna end up probably running around 400 horsepower. Would be plenty for what we need. There is a little hack that you can do, a little trim you can actually, or trick you can do, is pull this plug out. And there's a spring in here, and this is actually your pressure regulator for your oil pressure, and you can actually stack a couple washers in there, and make it basically a stronger spring, so it takes more pressure to open up. You can actually jack up your oil pressure if you wanted. Being at the power level we're at with what we're doing, we're not running any boost or anything crazy like that, so we're going to leave it alone and just leave it as it is. So you can also do a little bit of porting and stuff in here too on some of these. I've seen some guys do, but for what our application, we really don't need to get that crazy with it, so we're just going to just leave it be and go with a brand new one. When we were doing this build, the actual LS valve train is pretty stout throughout. It's a great design, especially for what we're doing. It used to be on older small blocks, you do something crazy like running a 1:7 ratio rocker arm. That was a big upgrade you could do. Go to roller rockers and all this kind of stuff. Well, they, these newer styles, they're a lot. They are a roller rocker. They're, the arms, the rocker arms themselves are a great design. They hold up really well, especially at the power level we're going to be at. The only real upgrade you can do, or that you really need to do here, is what's called the trunnion upgrade. This is where it actually bolts down to the cylinder head, and then your rocker arm goes in here. You actually press out the old stuff in here, and you'll see later in the build series we'll do an in-depth on doing all that. And you can press it into the rocker arm, and it's just a bit of insurance, because the factory ones, especially at higher RPM, sometimes you have some issues with the bearings coming apart and going down in the motor, and then you've got a whole batch of problems that you never really wanted. But it's pretty cheap insurance. We didn't really spend that much on this, but now we're not gonna have to worry about it once we're done. We can rev it out with $7 grand or something stupid if we want, hit fuel cut off, and not really have to worry anymore. There's little things like that through the build that you can do while you're in there anyways, to really just kind of give you peace of mind. You don't have to worry about it. Now this is a great box I've been looking for. This is actually the stuff from Novak, and I'm really shocked. It's like a 130-pound box. They crammed a lot into this thing. Anyway, we got some iron joints here for some stuff. These are all our bracket spacers for the Holley. So as you'll see later on in the build, the factory truck bracket assembly and all doesn't really work in this Jeep application. All that applications you can just run the factory bracket assembly and all that stuff, and it's cool, saves you a ton of money. Unfortunately, in this application, we're with the AC compressor location being so far down on the passenger side, it's going to hit frame rail and some issues like that. So we did kind of have to spend an extra few bucks and go with the full Holley kit. Saves a lot of time and hassle just doing it this way. It's worth spending the extra money. Just have it all done at once, and it takes the guesswork out of it. And these are the actual spacer plates for that to space out, being that you have one of the big differences between the truck motors, van motors, whatever, between the cars is the front accessories stick out a lot more. You ever notice the difference between a water pump and a truck motor and like, let's say like and compared to like an LS1 or LS6, 2 or whatever, like Camaro, Pontiac G8 or GTO or Corvette, the water pump snout's a lot shorter. The whole drive assembly is a lot shorter, a lot more compact because of what it's in. They're a lot lower slung, a lot tighter to the motor. Trucks, you don't really have to worry about that. So. Might be back there for the transmission mount, I'm thinking. Back around where the transfer case and all that. The mounts. Man, you guys do some great work. Good quality. So what we actually went with is when you contact Novak, you look up on their website for this particular application, you actually have two different routes you can go with engine mounts. You have a Vulcan style, and then you have in the Weldon style. What we decided to go with this for this application was we went ahead and just went with the Weldon style. Yeah, there are already, provisions, I'm sure, for probably starter exhaust or something like that. There's no telling what we'll see here later on today. So it comes with hardware and everything. I mean, these are all the brackets here pretty much for the it's actually your mounts that go up against the block. It's good quality stuff, man. They really do a great job. Some more Novak stuff. Anyway, man, it's been so great dealing with these guys. These guys are amazing. They've really hooked us up with some knowledge and some amazing parts here. Their slave cylinder. They're just quality stuff. You see all nice and machined, and no plastic, no chintzy stuff. You cheap out on stuff, you end up with a lot more problems sometimes. With pressure plate bolts. All our hydraulic tubing and everything for clutch and all that. I mean, there's just so much stuff. Like just this alone takes out so much time and effort in figuring out what kind of hose you need for your, because we're running a hydraulic clutch setup in this thing just like it's got in it to begin with. So it makes it so much easier, taking a lot of this time and hassle out. It's worth spending the extra few bucks to just get the kit from them. What we got here? Flywheel bolts. Bolting our flywheel to the crank. Bracket here, I'm assuming for probably holding the ECM for the new motor and all. And check this out. I mean, like, think about the whole fuel system you need. Everything, fuel pump and all, just right there. I mean, it's just amazing what they do. It takes so much time and effort out of it. And of course, they give you all your instructions, all that kind of fun stuff detailed through. And like I said, one of the reasons we went with Novak is their customer service. We originally talked to them a couple years back, and then a year later talked to them. They still remember who we were, still had all the stuff saved. Like, it was great. I mean, any question you've got, like, it's so worth it to go with these guys. They're not sponsoring us or anything, by the way. We're just using their stuff. More brackets. And the cables. Some of that's probably for the transfer case or something with the air window like that. Overflow bottle for the radiator. All nice, pretty and shiny and clean. Inlet and outlet ports on the bottom. These guys make some great stuff, man. Like, just your flange to come off the header itself. Yeah, look at that. All nice and pretty. Shiny. We like it. And so these will bolt right up to the 6.0. So one thing you got to be careful with when you're getting these is, you know, there's different companies out there that'll offer, you know, manifolds or headers or whatever you want to call them for these applications. There are some variances in the heads with like the 5.3 to 6.0 and stuff like that, you know, depending on years. Sometimes you got like a D port or square port or whatever. So that's one thing just to make sure when you're ordering your exhaust, make sure you got the right port style. These are gonna look really great on there. Here's our adapter plate for adapting the 3550 or whatever to the 6.0. It's nice, good quality, heavy product there to do it right. It's definitely not something you want to cheap out on, considering that's where your transmission mounts to your motor. On to the clutch. A nice Luck clutch setup here. So, you know, building a project, like we said, we sat down and figured out what his goals were and all that. And there's no sense in getting crazy and buying some like twin disc, monster clutch, you know, rated for 1,000 horsepower. If you know, we're only going to have like 400 horsepower. So we talked to the guys Novak. That's what we spec'd out. This is what they recommended. So that's what we're going with. Nice. There's your pressure plate, all that fun stuff with your fingers. You don't really normally want to touch this stuff, but we'll clean it up before we put it in. The oil from your hands can actually get on there and cause some issues, but we're going to clean it up pretty good before we do anything. So yeah, it's your plate there and all that. It's good friction material. We got a way to bolt our transmission up. We got our pressure plate and the flywheel, or pressure plate and friction disc, but then we need a flywheel. It's heavy, by the way. Ram makes some good stuff. I like that. That's it. So this right here will bolt up to the crankshaft on the back of our motor. Of course, this one's been spec'd out to go right with the 6.0, so the starter will bolt right up and everything's right teeth count. And that clutch disc and pressure plate that we just had in the other picture will all go right on here. So this is another quick thing too, is a common mistake a lot of people make. This is a flywheel. Because it's going into a manual transmission, it's a flywheel. This right here is actually a flex plate. A lot of people call these flywheels, but they're actually a flex plate. This is actually what come off the back of that 6.0 because it had an automatic behind it. And so what it is it bolts to the back of the crankshaft. These 3 bolts here bolt up to your torque converter, and it's an actual flex plate. A lot of times you'll actually see these crack. I just actually did a van the other day where it cracked all around here. Had an issue with a or a harmonic issue or whatever in it, and it was causing it to crack. It's notorious for it. Anyways, quick little tech tip there. That's the difference between a flywheel and a flex plate. So super excited. Like I said, it's Christmas, man. Anytime's a good day to get parts into the shop. So much fun. So now we go to the box, all the Novak stuff. These are a lot of parts that we got like from Summit and some other places. Like I said, we'll give you links to where we've got all this stuff from in the description and all that fun stuff. So here are our push rods. And what we're gonna do is we got these from Comp also. Figure while we're in that depth and in that far deep and doing a cam and all, we might as well, it's a good little upgrade. Like I said, cheap insurance while we're in there. Factory ones would probably be okay, but why not? So that nice new timing chain set. Got a double roller set up here. Everything we need. Some of the other parts that came with a motor or mass airflow system or sensor, throttle pedal module, and these. Another valve train little upgrade we're doing while we're in here. You guys actually noticed the other day with some photos that were placed on Facebook and stuff and Instagram for the shop was we actually did these same springs on Roxanne the other day. These are the GM Performance Blue Springs LS6 style. And figure while we're in there, just do a little upgrade. 150,000 miles. So metal can get a little bit of fatigue on it, you get a little bit of issues, especially if you're a little bit of playing around every now and then, some higher RPMs. Just cheap insurance. I think we spent 70 something bucks on the whole set of those. And we've actually got the tool, and you can see later in the build us changing those out. So here is our bump stick, our camshaft that we'll be putting in. Give a little bit more grunt to it, so this will help us get a little closer to that 400 horsepower goal we want, a little bit more torque. Because the whole goal with this project is not so much more horsepower, is giving that more bottom end torque with this build. And of course, so as deep as we're tearing in this motor, and the age on it just made total sense to get a complete gasket kit. And Molly or Mal or however you want to pronounce that. I don't think I've ever pronounced it right. These guys make a great kit. I mean, literally everything from valve stem seals, you name it. Boudreaux, our official shop dog there, doing a little bit of inspection to make sure we got good quality stuff. So this comes with head gaskets and all. We went with the MLS multi-layer steel gaskets. So just a little bit. This is actually a bit of an old school style, like an old R4 pancake compressor, pretty much. It is. We'll do a side by side here. Smells good and nice, that's for sure. Gaskets and washers in there. This is actually like a late 80s, early up to mid 90s Chevrolet little R4 style little pancake compressor is what they call them. To give you a little bit of comparison, this is the actual compressor that come off of it, newer style. And what this is going to do is you'll see later in the build. So we'll walk over here real quick, I'll show you. So from the factory, for these compressor mounts right here, set this down real quick, and mounts right on there. It's really cool, it's nice, real close and modular. There's a little rinky-dink 4-rib belt with a little tensioner that always failed on them after a while. Works great in a lot of applications, but for what we're doing, you know, it's not really going to work. It's going to hit the frame. So I'm trying to remember, I think it moves it over to the opposite side if I remember correctly. Then it's actually going to sit up here high. If you'll notice in the engine bay over here, you know, it gets kind of tight down there, so it makes a lot more sense to have it up here out of the way. And plus, if we ever need to do anything with it, a lot easier to mess with it on the top side than down there at the bottom. All right, here's some more of our pulleys and all this fun stuff for all the new belt drive system, our new tensioner and all. really nice, cool kit that Holley makes, complete kit. To totally do the whole accessory drive system. This is actually our pigtail that's going to plug into the compressor to engage the clutch, and we'll wire that in later. Cool, it actually gives you kind of a nice pictorial here of how we're going to be set up with our brackets and all with the AC compressor. And that's our new bracket, and some of those spacers that we had in the other pictures will help put that out where it needs to be. So yeah, we'll be it comes with hardware and everything. It's a really good, nice, thorough kit. Like I said, man, this stuff can save you so much time in a project to spend the extra few bucks now rather than trying to chase down and figure out hardware and all that stuff. That's one of the worst things about a project, is when it draws out and takes so much time, then you lose interest. That's pretty much it. Right now, we'll have some other parts and stuff later on, but that'll definitely get us started with this build. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. It's been a fun episode. It's like Christmas here in the shop, like I said. Always getting to open up new parts, especially performance parts. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully the next video here soon will be coming out. We'll probably the next video we'll be starting to tear down the 6.0 and starting to go through, reseal it, put the cam in, do valve train upgrades, all that kind of fun stuff. So don't forget to give us a little like and subscribe. Turn on that little bell for notifications so you notice when we come out with new videos. And you'll be the cool kid saying you got to watch it before everybody else. So and remember guys, don't forget, stock is not an option.